and welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you are one of the few people returning from a previous video. Today will be a little bit different if you've seen my other two videos. Today I am going to be starting my New Year's resolution by diving into some more topics on this channel that I am also passionate about, and not just plant stuff. I recently discovered the true crime community on YouTube and absolutely fell in love with it. I have always loved crime documentaries and things like that, but watching tons and tons of people who did deep research on different cases and cases you've never even heard of before is really, really interesting, and I just wanted to also put my voice out there to amplify an extremely important and extremely recent case. As you can see from the title above, today we are going to be talking about the disappearance of Jayme Closs and the murder of both of her parents, James and Denise Closs. I want to start with talking about a little bit of background information on the Closs family so we can get a little bit of a feel for them and who they were, how they lived, because I think it's important to remember that these are real people, and when you hear these stories, these are real people with real friends and family out there that loved them and cared about them, and yeah, it's just important to remember that, I guess. The next thing I want to dive into is the timeline of events, and it's going to start with the only real thing we have from this case, which is the dispatch log from the 911 call, and then some more details from the following day's investigation, and then it pretty much nothing happens after that. There's a few interesting twists that happen along the way. Well, the whole thing is really interesting and complicated, but I mean, after the initial investigation happened, like the first 48 hours or so, the public hasn't gotten any information. They may have more details and information, but they haven't released it to the public, and everyone is just really stumped and at a loss with this case. So we're going to start with the background family on the Closs family, and the background family on the Closs family. The background information on the Closs family. If you hear some pages crinkling and whatnot, it's because I ended up having to record this on my phone due to some issues with my camera. So I had to write out all my notes on paper. So yeah, bear with me. Jayme Closs was born to James and Denise Closs. James was 56 and Denise was 46. They all lived in Barron, Wisconsin, which was a town of about 3,300 people, so relatively small town, and they both worked at Jenny O, which was a turkey factory also located in Barron, Wisconsin. Jayme Closs was the daughter of James and Denise Closs, and she is 13 years old. She loves to dance, she runs track for her school, and by all accounts, she's just a very sweet, kind of quiet girl. By all accounts, her parents were extremely loving. Even their extended family was very, very close to them. There's not a lot of information out there on her father, but Jayme's family did say in particular about Denise that she was called the family's angel. They even went on to say that she would take vacation days off if you needed help. So Denise was just the kind of person that would drop everything to help someone she loved. Denise, Jayme's mom, was particularly active on Facebook, and she, as moms like to do, posted lots and lots of posts about Jayme and about the extended family, and lots of pictures, and it was just very obvious that they were close and loving. And for example, on Jayme's birthday in July, Denise wrote, "Happy birthday to my daughter, Jayme Closs, who is growing up to be the sweetest and most kind-hearted girl. Love you to the moon and back. Hope you have the best day ever." To which Jayme replied, "Thank you for an awesome birthday, Mom. And thank you, Aunt Sue, for everything. Love you all." So obviously they were close, and Jayme had a good birthday this year. This family was so close that one of the aunts even said that she was on the phone with Denise about 3 hours before her 911 call and murder, till about 10 p.m. So even up to her very last hours, this family was close and in touch. They were good people, they were loving people, they were a close family. Not that any type of person or any family dynamic deserves what happened to these people, but just to give you a little background information on who they were before all this happened, that's what they were. They lived in a small town in Wisconsin. These parents loved their daughter loved their parents, and they had a close extended family. So it's New Year's, so there's some fireworks going off right now. Wait, I wonder if it's New Year's right now. I can't see a clock because I'm using my phone. Anyway, so starting on October 15th at 12:53 a.m., the 911 call was received by the 911 dispatcher. It came from Denise's cell phone, and the dispatcher said that they were not able to make contact with the caller, but they could hear a lot of yelling in the background. At 12:56 a.m., this 911 dispatcher dispatched to the police and said they received a 911 call from the closest phone number and could hear a lot of yelling. Called the number back and was unable to leave a voicemail. Phone pinged to the address above. Advised 317, 325, and 329. They made multiple more attempts to call the number back, and they even called the house phone, but they were not able to ever get an answer. The police response on this was actually extremely fast. They arrived only 4 minutes after the dispatcher dispatched them. So at, 1 a.m. exactly, the police arrived. At 1:04 a.m., 4 minutes after they arrived, the call log reads, advised one male down, multiple rounds spent, requested that admin be notified. So at 1:04 a.m., they discovered James Kloss down in the home. 1 minute later, at 1:05 a.m., they said, advised the door has been kicked in. Advised the male who is down had answered the door. Unknown if anyone is missing. Let's back that up for a second. Let's just reread this. Let's all soak this in. Advised the male who is down had answered the door. Unknown if anyone is missing. So James Kloss was alive at the time that the police arrived. Also, they didn't know if anyone was missing, meaning Denise or Jayme, or maybe they weren't even sure who else or if anyone else lived in the house. At 1:08 a.m., advised 2 subjects down. So 3 minutes later, after they found James and said they were unsure if anyone else was missing, they found Denise. At 1:19 a.m., the call log reads, 317 advised that 501 responded to the scene for 2 subjects down, unresponsive. This is when things start to slow down a little bit. The last thing in the call log was at 1:19 a.m. The next thing we see is at 3:05 a.m. 911 call log changed to reflect the double homicide. So originally there was either nothing in the call log, or I think I read somewhere that they actually thought it was maybe a murder-suicide or something like that. But at 3:05 a.m., the call log was changed to reflect that there was a double homicide at the house. But still, at 3:05 a.m., there is no mention of Jayme at all whatsoever. So I'm not just saying they didn't say that she was missing. There's just no mention that she even exists at all. So it isn't until 54 minutes later at 3:57 a.m. the call log reads, entered JLC, which is her initials, as a missing juvenile. So finally, at 3:57 a.m., this is 3 hours almost after 4 hours almost the original 911 call, and then the police arrive 4 minutes later, and it takes them until 3:57 a.m. to mention that there is a 13-year-old girl missing. Another key entry that was in between this one and the next one, I'm not sure exactly what time, they didn't put an exact time on this one, but another key entry revealed what officers learned as they combed through the Kloss home for clues and important details. That Jayme Kloss was not in the home when the officers arrived, nor was she located during their search. She wasn't there. They couldn't find her when they initially did a search in the home and around the initial area. That is 3:57, in between 3:57 a.m. and 5:13 a.m. Then another 2 hours and 44 minutes passes. Almost 3 more hours passes. We're now at 5:13 a.m., which is when local law enforcement starts absolutely blaring the sirens, blasting out the call that Jayme Closs is a missing and endangered child who was abducted from her family. At this time, they were not able to issue a suspect or a vehicle of suspicion or anything like that, which made it all the more difficult for everyone involved. Later that afternoon, on October 15th, an Amber Alert was officially issued for Jayme Closs. We're now on the next day, Tuesday, October 16th. And like I mentioned in the beginning, things really slowed down in the investigation from here. On Tuesday, October 16th, authorities released that there was a tip, a possible sighting of Jayme in Miami, Florida, and they put this everywhere. I remember watching this press conference and I remember hearing this when this was originally happening. I was absolutely glued to the live feeds on Twitter and everyone was just going nuts about this Miami tip. Also, during a press conference on this day, authorities released that Jayme was taken at gunpoint, and they didn't release any more details about how they knew exactly this is what happened, but that's what they said. Another huge thing they announced at this press conference is that the FBI's Child Abduction Response Deployment Team is being used on the case. So it wasn't just local law enforcement, it wasn't just surrounding law enforcement and state law enforcement. The FBI is brought in, and not just the FBI, but this special Child Abduction Response Team. Also, on the 16th of October, a prayer service was held for the Closs family at their local church, which was St. Peter's Catholic Church in Cameron, Wisconsin. Now on to Wednesday, October 17th. Authorities announced the Miami tip was not credible. So after everyone had heard this and everyone was looking into this and so many resources were put into this, it was immediately almost ruled not credible. And they were basically like, hey, forget that. Also on the 17th, the Barron County Sheriff's Department officially announced that Jayme and Denise Closs's deaths were officially ruled homicides. So their autopsies were officially completed. So without a shadow of a doubt, these were homicides. These people were murdered. They also said on this day that at this point they had received over 400 tips, and they were working around the clock to look through every single one, and they still were looking for more tips from anyone who even thought they might know something of relevance to call their hotline that they had set up. They actually had a 24-hour operation going on. On Thursday, October 18th, a search of over 100 people searched for Jayme. Also on the 18th, the surrounding schools in Jayme's area had therapists, school resource officers, and also comfort dogs come to their school to help with the trauma and all the emotions they're dealing with after something so horrible happens to someone you may have known. And even if you don't know them, that's something really crazy and scary to deal with at such a young age. So I'm glad that these schools are taking this seriously and giving these kids these resources. On Friday, October 19th is when the 911 call log was released. So that is what I initially read at the beginning of this. Up to this point, and still to this day, that's all we really have on this case. And by we, I mean we, the public. I'm sure the police and law enforcement and FBI have more, but they have given us nothing. So we are just completely at a loss. On Saturday, October 20th, they released that they had received over 1,000 tips at this point, and again, they were always looking for more, and they said that they had gone through over 800 of these tips. So they had received over 1,000, they had already gone through 800, and they were still sorting through the rest of them as best they could and investigating every single one. On Monday, October 22nd, they released 2 vehicles of interest, and they said the first was a 2008 to a 2014 Dodge Challenger, which was red or orange, and then the other one was a 2006 to a 2010 Ford Edge, or a 2004 to 2010 Acura MDX in black. both of those last vehicles in black. Could be one or the other. They didn't release any license plate numbers. Also, on October 22nd, they released that they had received over 1,300 tips, and they had thoroughly investigated and closed over 1,100 of these tips. Monday, October 22nd is also when you see billboards start going up for Jayme in the metro area. On October 23rd, another search is held for Jayme, and this time there is over 1,000 volunteers, and it is the largest search party since the 15th of October. Also on the 23rd, the funerals were scheduled for Denise and James Kloss, which was going to be held on Saturday, October 27th. Now, on October 27th, some pretty crazy stuff happens, and you just have to hear it. You just have to hear it. Kyle Janaik Annis, I don't know how to say that, but he broke into the Kloss residence on October 27th around 2:30 a.m. And he got caught because of the motion-activated cameras that were around the property. So the police came and they caught him as he was leaving the house. And when he was leaving the house, they searched through his stuff, and he had shirts of Jayme's, other items of clothes, and he had pairs of her underwear. And when they asked him why, he said he wanted to know what she dressed like and what size she wore. Also, when asked why, he said because no one would miss those items. They obviously investigated this guy, and believe it or not, they completely cleared him of any involvement with the murder or the disappearance of Jayme. So, not a murderer, just a mega creep. On November 1st, the Sheriff's Department announced a shift in strategy. They said they were going to close down the 24/7 operation that they had going on, that was going through the tips and everything, and move it towards a more efficient, let me get this quote correct, from a 24/7 reactive operation to a more deliberate and methodical effort. On November 14th, there was an interview with the extended family of the Klosses, and it was the first time they had spoken out at all since anything had happened. When asked why they hadn't spoken out sooner or spoken to anyone in the media sooner, they said because they were still in so much shock, and you don't even know what you're saying at that point, and you're still asking yourself why. It was during this interview that one of Jayme's aunts said that she had been on the phone with Denise up until 10 o'clock p.m. the night before she died. So she was on the phone with her just 3 hours before her death. When asked if they believed it was random or planned, they said they definitely believe it was targeted and planned. If it was not planned and targeted, there would be more evidence, they said. If it was random, it would have been messier. There would have been more things left behind, more clues, but there's not. So they're saying this leads them to believe this was planned, calculated, and executed. The extended family of the Klosses has been interviewed by investigators multiple times, and they have even given DNA samples to investigators, and they insist they are absolutely okay with this as long as it gets them closer to finding the people that took Jayme. That's all they care about. Ask them as many questions as you want and give as much DNA as you want. Just get Jayme back. On November 15th, this marks 1 month of Jayme missing. On November 18th, hunting season opens up, and hunters are asked to be on the lookout for any possible clues of anything that could be related to Jayme. Any clothing or just anything they saw that looked out of place. They wanted them to alert law enforcement to. They also reassured the public and friends and family of the Klosses that Jayme's case remained a top priority for them and a national top priority as well. On November 18th, Sheriff Fitzgerald of the Barron Sheriff's Department was on Fox News, where he said that we do believe Jayme was at home at the time the call was made. He also said that they had no suspects, no sightings, scarce physical evidence, and very few clues. Basically, they're working with little to nothing. He said also during this interview that the door was just riddled with bullet holes. So their working theory was that James was actually shot through the front door. So someone had rang the doorbell or knocked on the door super late at night. James went to answer it and was ultimately shot through the door. On December 6, 2018, the Sheriff's Department released more information on what they believe or what they have gathered happened at the scene of the crime. They said the killer was in the home for 4 minutes, only 4 minutes. They stepped only 5 feet into the home. The only thing they left behind, as for physical evidence, is bullet casings. Nothing in the Claus home was disturbed or taken except for Jayme. The biggest and most disappointing thing they said was that there was no forensic evidence at all whatsoever. So just to recap this, because it's also crazy, this person or team, whoever it was that killed the Clauses and took Jayme, they were only in the home for 4 minutes total. Only stepped into the house for 5 feet, and they managed to leave behind no forensic evidence, and the only thing they left behind physically was bullet casings. So as of when I'm recording this, which is Happy New Year, January 1st, 2019 now, that's really all we have up to this point. I really hope and pray that behind the scenes investigators have a lot more than what they're offering to the public in efforts to bring Jayme home. I will do one last Google search before I put this up and upload it, just so I can throw in any last minute details, just in case there are any. But if not, this is pretty much everything we know about this case. Again, I just want to reiterate that I make this video with one intention only, and that is with the hopes of bringing Jayme home. No, I don't think that sharing this story is personally going to bring Jayme home, but I do believe that the more people that are talking about this case, the more likely it is that someone could hear something that makes them realize that they know something that they didn't realize was important before. And it's only been a little under 3 months since this happened, and I don't see anyone talking about this. When I even search on YouTube, there's not that many videos up. There is more videos of psychics on here trying to talk to Jayme and her parents than there are like deep dive videos talking about what happened here. So I just want to start out this new year with making a video that really matters, and I just want to continue this new year by continuing to make content that matters. Also, obviously, I will continue to make goofy little things that don't ultimately mean anything, but I think it'd be really great to get involved in this true crime community because, again, I love true crime, and again, especially with a case like this where Jayme is still missing and there is still so much hope that she is alive, which I really believe she is out there. I just hope she can get brought home to the family she does have left because they love her, they miss her, and they just want her back so badly. Yeah, so if you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more like this or some videos that are not like this at all, hit subscribe. This new year I am going to be putting out content no matter what. Right now I have literally my iPhone taped to a tripod because my camera won't work, but no more excuses. Even if the quality bothers me, I'm gonna get it out there. Have a happy new year, have a magical day, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for spending time with me.